All right. I bet you're wondering why I asked you here.
Yeah, I keep asking you, what are we going to talk about? And you're like, yeah, well, it just riffed.
Let's just figure it out. So here's the thing. Here's where all this stems from and how it connects into. So recently, obviously, I've been having lots of conversations because with different. Let me rephrase. I've been having lots of conversations recently with different people. Mm-hmm. It's the beginning of the year. Here in Damanhur, it's the Apagomenal days. And also, the world is on fire. It's infuriating. It's freaking out. So in talking with one of my students the other day, she brought up something that I immediately called you and was like, okay, wait a minute. I need more information because, we talked at the end of 2026 so much about this concept that, well, it's the end of 2026. It was a 9-year. It was a year of completions. It's kind of a little bit understandable that the world is on fire. But here we are in that was the end of 2025. And now we're in the beginning of 2026 and the world is even more on fire. Yeah. Okay, we want to believe, but it's a 1 year. It's supposed to be a year of new beginnings. And I'm like, if this is what things are beginning into, we're screwed. Like that is not what we want at all. So one of my students, was saying how, no, you don't understand. Astrologically speaking, this is a very unique year. In other words, there's a series of elements right now, especially right now at the beginning of the year. And she was specifically talking about Neptune and I believe Uranus.
No.
Oh, Neptune and...
Wait, depends on what you're trying to say.
Exactly. So I don't know enough, but I know this. Like she was explaining how certain configurations we have not seen in thousands of years. Okay. And that therefore it's kind of a little bit understandable that we don't even really know what's going to happen because we don't have anything to base it on. And from a Damanhurian perspective, we've been trying to understand the recent prophecies because, we look at prophecies, we look at world events from the kind of like form level, but we also look at it historically relating to prophecies. There's just so many different things. And I guess I'm trying to give it a context. And I feel like this astrology, understanding it better, especially because I'm looking at it from a natural perspective, right? To me, it's everything is useful when you understand the nature. Yes. And so I feel like everybody's looking at this going, horrible, horrible, fire, blah. And it's because we don't understand the usefulness of the current nature. So that's why I want to start with the astrology, because I feel like where, yes, I can get into world, plants, ecosystems type of perspective, the biggest ecosystem we're all immersed in is the astrology. So if I look at it, I kind of need to start there.
Okay.
So that's where I'm coming from. I'm trying to get to what the hell is happening with these beautiful planets? What is the energy that they're serving up on a platter? Mm-hmm. And then how do I use that energy in a way that can be actually useful for the evolution that we want to see rather than just succumbing to it and feeling like we're being dragged under?
Right.
Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Okay. So that's where I start.
Okay. I would say we have to start from reframing the way that we see things. Mm-hmm. Right. Because we could say the world is on fire. Right? With the political weather right now, we see the injustices and we see infuriating things that are happening in the world. Okay, so we could say it's on fire, it's horrible, and we can go on and on. But if we take a step back, and let's start with, yes, of course, if we move to astrology, we could say we haven't seen Uranus in Gemini in a very long time because it takes a very long time for Uranus to go around. But we also have Saturn and Neptune about to make this conjunction in Aries, and they've been conjunct in Pisces at the moment. So when we take a step back and we look at this, we see patterns. Astrologers see patterns. And these patterns occur because there's a natural evolution. Mm-hmm. So where we see catastrophe and the world on fire is just a natural way of the world resetting itself. We have had Neptune and Saturn conjunct in 1703, I think. And that was also in Aries. But because of when we go all the way back, the ephemeris gets kind of hazy on the degrees. And we're trying to focus on this 0 degree, right? So every time, there's been 3 other times where it has done a 0 degree conjunction in Aries, because Aries is very important right now.
I was going to say, the Aries piece feels like...
Yeah, because we just, because, I'm a generational X. We just had a conjunction in 1983, 84, but that occurred in Capricorn. And so we've had, but in different signs recently, and they've all marked the end of a period, the end of an empire, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the end of the Second World War, the end and reconstruction after the Second World War. So every time these two conjunct, something major occurs. But this conjunction at 0 degrees, because even though they're transiting together, which is quite interesting, because I was like, what do you mean they've been transiting together and this is the first time they're going to be together at 0 degrees? They've been conjunct. Not really. They've come very close at a 2 or 3 degree orb, but it's not until now that they're going to be at exact orb, right? So that's big. So let's take that example, Neptune and Saturn. Okay. And let's take a step back, because we have to see where they're coming from. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do this whole thing of,
Well, I want to understand.
Okay,
if
yes.
you don't understand a little bit the runway.
Exactly. Thank you.
Can't really get into where we
right,
want to
because everybody's asking, well, what's going to happen? Well, let's take a step back and look at, what is closing.
Right.
Okay. So in 2011, I was telling you earlier today, 2011, Neptune entered Pisces.
Okay.
For those who are not astrologically savvy, Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. Okay. The ancient ruler is Jupiter. Now, Neptune and Jupiter are brothers with Pluto, all 3 of them. When they defeated their dad, Saturn, Jupiter got the sky, Pluto got the underworld, and Neptune got the oceans, the seas. So the seas are between the sky and the underworld. And so when Neptune entered Pisces, he was at home. Yeah. He came home. So what happens with Pisces that is formless, it's the water, it's emotions, it's sadness, it's grief, because it's what we carry inside. It's our tears. And when Neptune gets upset, he doesn't throw lightning bolts, or if he's crying, we'll see hurricanes and we'll see floods. If there's pain, we'll feel earthquakes, tsunamis, right? So this is all about the emotions. So we have Neptune enter the world of formless. And what happened in 2011 was, we hit the 11-11-11, and that was the beginning of the spiritual movement. And then we went into 2012, which was like, oh my God, the world's going to end, the Mayan calendar, That's when I opened my center. Mm-hmm. It was a very spiritual period. It was very beautiful. But I think we kind of got sidetracked there. We got really into the consciousness and this manifest, and we were like, we have to let it go to the universe, and the universe will provide.
Spiritual bypassing.
We went into that spiritual bypass, which was very beautiful. We started dreaming and fantasizing, and then what happened? The platforms came out, the movie show platforms, and we started escaping. Mm-hmm. But basically what we've been doing since 2011.
Sounds good. 15 years of like, let's hide.
Right. And in 2023, Saturn enters. He comes from his signs Capricorn and Aquarius, where he commands. And he's like, what the hell? So for you to understand, he was the old king. So it was a big discussion when Jupiter and Saturn made a conjunction way back when in Capricorn, where it was like the old king and the new king. So he enters the world of Neptune and Jupiter. And Saturn, he commands. He's the lord of karma, not in the sense of, you did something wrong, now you got to pay for it. No. In the, what have you been doing? And now here are the consequences, right? So he enters Pisces, where everything is formless, where you can't see anything, where it's nebulous and it's not clear and it's emotional, and he's got to like feel his way through it. And he doesn't work well like that. So what I notice, and I take my own personal experience, a lot of the things that I started to, that I not created, but the structures I put in place that were very important to me, the move to Europe, getting an apartment finally after a million years, finally living together and living alone and having my own stuff after family and all that. Those things started to dissolve. And no matter how hard I tried, they just slipped through my fingers. And I noticed that I wasn't the only one. That the structures that were in place for other people who were launching their businesses, they were doing super well, and then suddenly what's going on, and it's not clear, and things are changing. And then the big question, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
What's happening? But is this really all there is? And that is when I believe was the first time that Saturn and Neptune got really close, where they were at like a 3-4 degree orb, where Saturn was saying, what are we doing here? I can't see my way through. And Neptune was saying, you just have to dream. You just have to feel your way. And for people like you and me, it's like, feel my way? What does that mean? How do I feel I need concreteness. I'm a Capricorn rising. I need,
I'm a Capricorn moon, so.
And you're an Aries rising.
I'm an Aries rising.
Okay, you go to war.
Yep.
Give me my orders. I'm going. And now as they get closer and closer, and to boot, I'm going through a second Saturn return. So it's all about legacy for me. So then I really started to think, what am I doing? And as we're getting ready to leave, because Neptune is
Hold on. I want to say something here because I think it's an important piece as to why this Neptune piece, right, with Saturn. So why I think also there's an element of why it's so hard, why we're living it in such a painful way for so many people, which is we don't know how to deal with our emotions. Like we have been taught, especially, many of the generations, and I think we're starting to see this in the younger generations now, the rebellion against this, which is like your sense of what am I supposed to do, right? We come from kind of like baby boomers and even before baby boomers, where we're talking about like getting things done. Saturn is car, family, house with a picket fence, the whole 9 yards. And you get into kind of like Generation X that starts saying, well, yeah, but there's also like live long and rock and roll type stuff. But it's still, success still has certain like measures of understanding. And then you get farther through, and here we are where Neptune is like, feel your way through. And the answer is like, Saturn's going, what do you mean feel? Like, I don't know how to feel.
I do.
I don't.
I build.
I do. I have like my measures of success. And I think even for the people who have been spiritually trying to experience things, it's still really hard to connect into those. It's one thing to follow your instincts. It's another way to feel your way through it. And so we have this, I don't know, what's the right word I'm looking for? Like, what's aggravating the situation is that this is also showing the place where we bypassed ourselves. Like, most of us do not teach our children to feel their way through things unless it's something bad. If it's something bad, feel your way through it. But it's like making decisions from the gut, right? That other intelligence that we have. We have been focused so much on having our intelligence come from our mind that now when Neptune takes over and says, hello, you've got to like get in touch with your emotions for real, not just say you're going to get into your touch with your emotions. We don't have any tools.
No, we don't.
So we're entering into eras that we don't have the tools to deal with.
This is interesting because I was just having this conversation with my son. We were taught, well, I don't know about you, because we had different parents. I was taught.
Although no, we'd be sisters. Might be cool. Anyway, go
ahead. No, you don't. It doesn't hurt. Don't cry. You're fine.
There's no crying in baseball.
Exactly. But I'm depressed. What the hell is that? I couldn't get depression because my mom was like, that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist.
Well, we were just watching Marcelo Hernandez.
Marcelo
Hernandez was talking about that. He's like, you don't get depression.
Right,
what are you talking about?
Right. So I was talking about that with my son because I was telling him when my grandson falls, instead of ignoring him, because that's what they would tell us, don't look at him, because don't make eye contact because he'll start crying, right? Make eye contact, and when he cries, you're present with the pain he's feeling in that moment. Mm-hmm. Yes, you're feeling pain. Where does it hurt? Oh, yes, I know it hurts, honey. I know. We'll do this, we'll do that, but I know that it hurts. So he understands that pain is part of life, and be present with your pain and with yourself. We don't know how to do that.
Yeah. And pain indicates things. It shows you where you have the hurt.
And it also allows you to feel your way through your emotions. How do I navigate? We don't have those tools. Mm-hmm. Hopefully the newer generation will have those tools. And right now, this is one of the main reasons why this period, especially the last 2.5 years, have been very hard. But as you said, you were saying something about intuition, mm-hmm. your gut feeling. This is going to be at the center stage with Aries. Because as we come out of this Piscean transit, we hit the ground running. Mm. So we are in this window right now of, okay, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? How am I going to, like me, I have no clue what I'm going to be doing. I am kind of suspended in midair. And that's how I feel we are right now. We're like suspended. All the astrologers talk about this, about the shifts. One of the main themes that we see throughout this conjunction at 0 degrees is that big empires fall.
And aren't we seeing it?
All of them, even the ones that did not happen in Aries, even the ones that happened at 0 degrees Libra, which happened twice, and at 0 degrees Capricorn, empires fell. And they gave way to smaller kingdoms, to self-regulation, mm-hmm. to where you were more about the tribal. Mm-hmm. And you weren't inheriting the power. You had to win it. You had to, right. And those are the constant things we see. But in order for that to happen, once we enter into the Aries era with Neptune, I remember Neptune comes from the water, and it is made out of water. So what happens when water hits fire? What does it create? Steam.
Yes, boat steam.
And steam it powers boats, trains. It propels you forward, right? Mm-hmm. It creates a pressure inside of you. And then as Saturn comes out of the water and enters fire, He's what we call in ancient astrology, he's in detriment. Because he likes to take his time. When you think of Saturn is the roots of a tree and Jupiter are the huge branches. If the branches are very big and the roots are very small, exactly, that tree is going to fall. But if the roots are deep and strong, it will grow healthy and it will be fruitful. So he takes his time, and in Aries, he can't. He has to hit the ground running. So we are seeing this acceleration of hurry up, but wait, but hurry up, but wait. And one thing that I have repeatedly heard and read throughout the process of this and the different phases of these transits is that you have to enter now. We enter into a period where we have to understand ourselves and know why we're doing the things that we're doing and holding our values, because it's the only way that we're going to get through it. Mm-hmm. The faith has to come from something that we really can hold on to and believe, because it's what's going to guide the way, because we're entering into the fire. Not to mention the fact that we're entering into the Chinese year,
the year of the horse,
of the fire horse,
right?
In the same period as these two planets are going to make a conjunction. It's like in the same week.
Yep.
It's kind of freaky.
Oh. I already thought January was a wild ride, but February, I keep thinking, okay, by February, everything's going to kind of stabilize into things. And I am just not finding that. I mean, this Chinese New Year also, we were just working on it in the Naturally Conscious community. We, in our budding artistry, we were creating our own horses, right? And each one of us decorating and creating. And these horses are like, only I think one person did kind of a passive horse, and I can understand it based on what I know of what she's going through. Most of us, the horses are like, I got stuff to do. Like, I am moving. And that's really what it feels like we're going into.
I think it's going to be a year. I think it's going to be a period of pure and utter instability, where the only thing it's got its advantages, because I feel like everything has dragged for the past few years, and it's been like a slow death, but now things pick up and it's unstable. That's another thing. The fire horse is an unstable creature. It gallops, it wants to go, it has a lot of energy, it's a huge force, it gets things done, but he's unstable. Hello.
Well, but I think
I'm a fire horse.
The other thing is that we as humans have a tendency to not be very good inside of this type of instability. We want to stabilize right away. And oftentimes we want to stabilize backwards rather than forward. It's going back to the whole feel your way through it that Neptune's trying to force us through. We have a tendency to want to stabilize into what we already know. So I'm going to fall back into older patterns, things that I can hook myself into because I know what they're like. Where what's being asked of us is, no, stay in it, feel your way through it, knowing you won't be able to see it. Remember, our entire vocabulary, right? Plants, don't have the dominant sense of sight like we do. Right. So plants are able to use so many other senses in order to understand their ground, understand where they are, understand which way to grow, and so can have a tendency to move in a very different way. We as humans have our entire vocabulary and our entire way of being surrounded around our dominant sense, which is the sense of sight. So therefore, when we can't see the way forward, because again, we're inside of this deep water, we're inside of this deep way of we're supposed to feel how I'm supposed to move through it. What do we try to do? We try to grab onto the things that we have in the past, even though these are the ones that we have to get rid of. These are the paradigms that need to fall. So the question will also be, and we're seeing this in politics, right? Rather than kind of seeing the instability that's happening, everybody's trying to quickly stabilize it. So the question then is, like, will we risk stabilizing something old and out of date in order to have stability? Or can we collectively support each other enough to wade through the uncertainty in order to create something completely new?
I don't think we can look back. There's nothing to look back to. It's been dissolved. I mean, we're talking about Pisces and Neptune. That life has dissolved. Even if we try to go back, we can't. Let's take you for an example. You're an Aries rising.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So we can get like a picture of it, right? So what's your 12th house? The last house, because you have a natural chart. Because, like I'm a Capricorn rising, but you're an Aries rising, so you have a natural chart.
I am pretty natural.
Yeah, you are pretty natural. The only woman I know that looks way better without makeup and doesn't age.
Oh, I wish that was so true.
It's true.
I'm going to take it. I'm
looking at you.
I'm taking it.
Yeah, I had to go put my face on. I mean, there's no way I would be like showing up here with no makeup. So Pisces is your 12th and final house. It's also the house. It's not only the house of endings, but it's the house of your ancestors. It's the things that you hide. It also rules mental institutions, hospitals, and jail. So we can also add there your psyche, the things that keep you blocked, the things that it's like you put yourself in a cage.
Oh, yeah.
Because
that I can do.
You believe these things. And and hospitals, the illness that we have inside of the things that we carry even from our ancestors. So these things are working in your 12th house. So there's things of your past that you're leaving. And we have had countless conversations about these things, about our families, our grandmothers, our great-grandmothers, how that has affected us, how that affects our relationships with partners, friends, work. And then these two planets are moving into your first house. So it's a new beginning for you personally, not only in what you want to create, but even your body, your physical body, your physical strength, your stamina. You can't overdo it because then you're going to pay for it physically. But one thing that is absolutely amazing is when Saturn crosses over your rising. Do you remember how many degrees your rising is in?
I don't remember at all.
It changes your life. It's a complete reset of your life. Saturn comes and puts, it's like, okay, this isn't working anymore, so we're going to move this chair over here, and we're going to move this sofa over there, because you can move around much better, and you have no say in it. Remember how much I tried to come to Italy for years? It was when Saturn hit my rising. I ended up in the hospital because something happened. And in that moment, I had an awareness. Life is too short, man. I got to do what I got to do.
Right.
And a month later, I was on a plane. Things happen, things shift. And so I predicted for you it's going to be a huge shift in your life, a restructure of how you live.
I don't know if I'm ready for that.
You are going to be ready, because you are going to be ready.
Well, I feel in Saturn, I have to say, Saturn has always had a very strong influence in the way. It's almost as if, I don't know why, Saturn just seems to like...
Well, he rules your 10th house.
And
your 11th house.
Got to explain what that means to people.
Well, your 10th house is the house that's on the top. So it's the top of let's say, your professional hill mountain. It's Capricorn is the goat. So the mountain goat goes up, it climbs up. So it's the top of your chart. In ancient astrology, it was about how people saw you, if they respected you, if you had a good standing in your community. That was the standard for you had reached the mountain. You have reached your goals. Nowadays, we see it as a house of professional life, because we've been taught that that's what your goals are and that's the standard, But for some people, it's not necessarily that. So it's where you shine. It's where people look up to you. And Capricorn rules your 10th house.
So people look up to me for my structure?
Well, yeah. I mean, you're one of the most structured people I know. My goodness.
Which is kind of hysterical because I made a comment to somebody about how, like, I think, I can't remember who it was, but I made a comment to somebody about how it was like, okay, this year is the year I'm going to be bold. And the person says the woman with bright purple hair. And I was like, yeah, but that's not bold to me. Like, to me, that's...
Okay, well, okay. So,
but I think that's hysterical. But I think that's the important piece. And this kind of goes back to what we were saying about how, why we're having this conversation is because there is a global interpretation that we can take. And then there's the interpretations we take for ourselves. And how important it is for you to truly be honest with who you are in order to be able to understand how things approach you. Because if you try to take global definitions onto yourself, none of this stuff is useful.
No.
You have to get deep into who you are because, like you were saying how for many people, Saturn, 10th house, you're talking about professional development. But for example, for me, that's not it, right? To me, it's about the quality of my life. Like for me has always been connected and I've made very, very big changes in my life throughout the years based on the quality of my relationships. Relationships in not thinking only as romantic. Actually, usually romantic is on the bottom of the list. The most important relationships are my friendships, my family, those types of pieces. And for me, a true measure of success and the thing that makes me wake up in the morning and say to myself, no matter how exhausted I might be or frustrated or even sad based on what's happening, it's like, yeah, but life is still good because tonight I'm going to go out with so-and-so and later on I'm going to have a conversation with this person and oh my God, and I have these clients of this type and I have, these professional colleagues and whatever it might be. But those strengths to me is the indicator of my true success because as a person who didn't, wasn't like born with lots and lots of connections, but instead has learned how to create them and work with them and enjoy them and really like, as we say in Italian, goderli, like really just enjoy them at a full, that to me is a huge measure of success. And it's something I have to remind myself of because it's very easy to fall back on like monetary success or title success or a whole mess of other things.
Which has been the standard in the past, at the beginning of the 80s.
Yeah. And it's where we're stepping away from, right? A lot of the models, I mean, we're looking at it again, even around the world of like the models are, your relationships are the most important thing. And so it's all about creating relational fields that nourish you in whatever they are. And if you don't have those, then you're really feeling the impact right now.
It's funny you say that because have you ever heard of the Sabian symbols? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the 0 degree of Aries is it's like the newborn Aries. And in the Sabian symbol, there are pictures. And the picture is a woman coming out of the ocean, out of the water, with a seal next to her. Mm-hmm. So the seal represents and this is just for purposes of explaining, nobody get upset about this, but the seal represents the masculine, right, the phallus. And the woman represents the female element that contains. So in that moment, Aries is born and it becomes self-aware. And the self-awareness lets it know that it's both a containment and the creator, right? But it also is aware that there is something else. I don't know if that makes sense, but there's also something else. So that's when a relationship begins. So that's that 0 degrees Aries is where relationship begins with the self and the other. We look at another because the other becomes a mirror that helps us understand ourselves if we look at it in a healthy way. So it's interesting you say about relationships, because this is the era where relationships become very important, because is what allows us to truly see ourselves for who we are and create bonds.
Right. And that makes sense, right? Here we were talking earlier about Neptune, right? I have to know myself. I have to be able to walk through my emotions in order to be able to create healthy relationships. So, all these different pieces also connect in to the understanding of what are the skills and the tools that I could use right now that I have to develop for myself. And that because they're just like sitting there in the air, right? They're sitting there ready for us to connect into them and use them in order to create the types of lives that we want. And I think that this is where it's so important. It's not just about reading like your horoscope and then do they still put your horoscope in magazines and in newspapers and stuff?
No idea.
It's like,
But you know what? I will say this, okay? And not to criticize anybody, but in social media, I see people coming up and saying, whatever, Saturn and Pisces, and it's this and that, or Jupiter, it's in Cancer, which is exalted. So we all thought it was going to be an amazing year, but it was crap. But there's a reason why that happened. You can't blanket that.
Right.
And I see a lot of, and especially nowadays where, you have to, I would say, explain what's happening, but don't predict, because it's kind of disappointing. Yes, Jupiter in Cancer is exalted. Usually when it comes around every 12 years, it brings a deep, wise gift. Let's just say it that way. But this particular year, it was squaring, and it has been squaring or conjunct to, in the last few years, with Saturn. So there's been a lot of stress. And so this year, Jupiter was not able to perform like other years. It was a difficult year. Mm-hmm. And so when astrologers get out there and say, well, if your sun is in this, and then, Jupiter's coming and it's going to be great, you're going to meet somebody and you're going to get married and, you're going to meet the love of your life. And it's like, please don't say that, because that's not for everybody. That's not going to happen to everybody. Don't say that. Because then you see the people, I've had a terrible year. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, because again, we all look for these definitions, good, bad type of thing. That's not the point. The point is you have an energy source. It has a range from here to here, and you can use that range in this way. Like it's going to be focused on this piece. Now, I can turn that into good and I can turn that into bad. If somebody tells me right now, like certain pieces, for somebody, the idea of like getting married might be like, oh my God, that's fantastic. For somebody else, I might be like, what? No, I don't want, So it seems just so, and maybe that's the other piece of what the difference between kind of Saturn versus Neptune is, that Saturn tried to bring in definitions, like solid definitions, like this is this, and that's that, and blah, blah, blah. And Neptune's like, depends on what it feels like to you.
Right.
Right? What does that bring? What does that mean for you?
What does that feel like?
What does that feel like? What are you going to do with that? Like, these are the harder questions, but they're also, I don't know. I know that it's, we've had this conversation so many times. I know it's a shit year in so many ways. And at the same time, it's awesome, because I feel like finally we're starting to get to realness. Yeah. Like a lot of these masks are starting to come down and people are allowing themselves to just be real. And I see it all over the place inside the naturally conscious community. We just recently in one of our calls had somebody who was telling a story of like a family event that just happened. And afterwards we were like, what about this, this, and this? And she was just sitting there going, I never, like, when she got real with herself and stopped trying to put like the standard definitions on things, she started to realize that for herself, a lot of what she was saying was just had so many more meanings to it. And at the end of the conversation, I mean, we had like a really great conversation. It was one of our group mentorship calls. And it was so great because she was like, I never would have seen any of that. because I wasn't allowing myself. You were using this behavior means this thing, and this thing over here has this definition. And she wasn't allowing in a whole series of other pieces. I don't know. I just feel like this is going to be the period for ambiguity. Ambiguity is going to it's going to be a superpower.
I think that we're coming out of the period of ambiguity and we're going into a period of fast moving, which won't feel so stable.
Oh, okay. Fair
It'll
enough.
be the way that I heard it described was it's a moment where you hit the ground running. And the only thing you need to be aware of is, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And that's it. What's going to happen? How am I going to do it? What are forget about that, because you won't be able to see it, which is a struggle of Saturn. But it's interesting what you say about how we don't see the whole. We don't see it. It's crazy. We are programmed in ways that we can't see the whole. We see little pieces of it.
Right.
Right? Because I don't think most of us don't know ourselves.
No.
So we can only see and truly understand ourselves through another. But what happens? We get stuck in the drama and the story of the other, as opposed to, so why is this happening? Why am I feeling this way? Mm-hmm. And staying with it, especially, with the whole Neptune and Pisces, we want to be distracted from the pain. Why do you think the platforms are so successful? Because that's our escapism. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I mean, I don't drink,
confirmation bias. Like, I curate my algorithm in order to see exactly what I want to be seeing, and therefore I'm just confirming. Look, everybody thinks like me.
Okay, and no, not only, but you know what? I will say this for that. There's been many instances, and maybe that's the way that I curate, because you know that I'm a sci-fi freak. Maybe it's the way that I curate, what I see in the platforms. But there's so many times that I am watching something and I'm like, oh, that's what I'm going through. What'd she say? Oh my God, that's so true. Holy shit. I have to pause. Because and I'm like, how did I not see that? And sometimes it's a great thing and sometimes it just hits you like a brick. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think it's going to be an unstable, but we need it. We need it after a few years of feeling stuck and not going anywhere and just struggling.
Well, and that's why another reason why I wanted to have this conversation, because I feel like there is confusion between new beginnings and instability. In other words, because we've had the kind of instability that has led to stuckness for so many people, because, I mean, we've been saying it for years, do the work or you're going to get stuck. And we saw a lot of people get stuck. I hate to say that. We just did. And so now that we're in a new beginning, right, going into that 1 year, we think, oh, great, finally things are going to move. Yeah, but just because they move doesn't mean they're stable. On the contrary, things are going to move, which means it's like, the roller coaster, the fact that, for the longest time you've been on the ascent and you haven't been able to get off because you're ascending and you're like, oh my God, 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 oh my God. And then we kind of at the cliff, and now we're starting to come into it, which means it's still going to be really unstable for a while. Because now you're flung into it and you have got to create something from it. Like, you're literally looking at all this muck and stuff and opportunities and possibilities and saying, okay, you can't go back to the past because all that stuff just fell down, right? You've seen too much. Now you've got to do something with it.
Not that we don't try.
We try. It's our very It's the conditioning that we have is so freaking strong that it's all about, it's better for you to be stable in something that sucked than to be waiting around in the muck of I have no idea and like moving through that. You and I had we had discussion years ago.
It's what we know, I want to be in what I know.
Well, and we had this discussion years ago, which I think now you're changing tunes. So you're starting to see my tune a little bit, which was we were talking about things like when you're really like in a bad space, right? And I was saying when I'm in a bad space, I'm like, throw me into the deep end. And I'm just I'm imagining myself in mud and I have like, I'm wading through it and I'm crying. I have multiple times in my life spent months on end crying every single day, but like, because I'm feeling it, because I'm experiencing it, because I'm like, okay, let me do it. Let me go a little in this way. And no, that didn't work. Let me go over here. And I'm just like, I am going to sit in this mud until I get through it, until the mud washes clean, because I have literally cleaned it from the inside out and I have dealt with every single little nook and cranny and I've experimented and I've tried and what other stuff. And you were looking at me with these wide-eyed dove eyes that you have, looking at me going, I just want to get the fuck out of it as fast as possible. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It? She's like, I just want to know what's wrong and then I want to deal with it. And I'm like, But that's just one little piece of what's wrong. Like, you've got to like get and deal with that piece. And
I never knew how to deal with uncomfortability. And this is a word that I invented because it doesn't exist. With being uncomfortable. But then I realized that I've been comfortable in my own uncomfortability. Again, not a word, but I invented it. Yes, it sucks. I feel like crap. Okay, what do I do to get out of this crap hole?
That's the difference. The difference is, what do I do to get out of the crap? And I'm more like, what the hell is getting me in the crap? Where is this crap coming from? How do I deal with this crap?
I deal with that after the fact.
Yeah, but how do you do that?
I forget, because then it's like, oh, it's in the past.
Exactly. No.
Until obviously it comes around. And what happens when it comes around?
See, I don't do things twice. Screw that. I don't want to do things twice. I'm like, I am here in it. I once spent 6 months. 6 months. I lie to you. I do not lie to you at all. 6 months. I counted it on a calendar, crying most of the day, every single day. 6 months in a row. I remember the first day that I didn't cry. I sat there for a second and it was the evening. And I said to I was getting ready to go to bed and I was like, hey, I didn't cry today. And it was like, I looked at the calendar. It's like, it's been 6 months that I have cried every single day. But I didn't cry, not because I said to myself, don't cry today or anything. It was because literally I didn't cry. Like I didn't feel it. And what I went through in those 6 months, which was like complete shift of my entire life. And it was like all these different pieces. But you know what? I never went through that again. Like I've gone through lots of other stuff. I've had lots of other periods where I always say I'm a slow healer. But when something heals, ain't gonna open again, because I've made that mistake. As a child, I have made that mistake.
Well, I'm gonna have to how do you do it though? Because okay, I'm gonna tell you an experience talking about that, because crying is very good for you. It cleanses things. It gets things unstuck, and it's difficult for the nervous system in that moment. But then it helps you release and then regulate, right? So it's very useful to cry. But for instance, I have gone through periods where I can feel the need to cry that is bubbling in my chest. But for the life of me, I can't get there. And then I've had moments where suddenly, my cat looked at me in a certain way, and then I just couldn't stop crying for 2 hours, right? Interestingly enough, this happened to me a few months ago where I was having a conversation with my son. He said something to me, nothing bad. And then I hung up and I was so emotional that I started crying. Mm-hmm. And then I started crying and and I couldn't stop. And to a certain, it must be the Capricorn in me. I had to regain control of my emotions, and I couldn't. I could not regain, and I tried, and I cried, and I cried, and it got so bad that I must have cried for, I don't know, 3 hours straight. And I said, okay, I need to stop. I'm going to drink some water. I'm going to watch a movie because I need, to settle. And then I was fine. And then the movie ended. I started getting ready for bed. And then I just broke down again. It was so bad, I guess because I don't do it, that for 2 days I felt like I had the flu.
Mm-hmm.
And I am sure that I needed to release even more, but it's a programming. And I know a lot of people like that they have this programming that they just have to power through it.
Yeah.
And it's not even a thing that we tell ourselves, I have to power through it. I just power through it. I don't know how to do it any other way. So if you have any techniques.
I'll be honest, the thing that comes, and maybe this is an oversimplification, but it's the way that my mind works. I have an inherent belief. I don't know if it's inherent. I think I probably built it. Almost for everything I do, I've built. I have a belief that I'm so ambitious. I am so driven by myself, by my relationships, by a desire to do good in the world, that I just believe that eventually I'm going to get through it. And I think that that's really what I focus on. So I allow myself not just to cry, but I allow myself down days. Like over the weekend, I wasn't feeling very well, and I don't really get sick, but when I only get sick once every years. And when I do get sick, it's bad. So instead, when I feel something like a cold coming on, I give myself space to do nothing. So I spent Sunday sitting on the couch, hanging out. But from the perspective of the more I give myself permission to just, I'm not going to exercise. I'm not going to force myself out. Somebody asked me if I wanted to go out to dinner, and I was like, no, I just really want to stay home, and I want to be in my own space and in my own energy. And I didn't really take anything. I mean, I did some hot shower, whatever. But my belief system is, and this is the same emotionally, is that, and I guess this is what they call positive mental health, right? There's studies that talk about, we use the word mental health and we almost always think about negative mental health, but positive mental health is the allowing yourself to go into moments of negativity because you trust in yourself that you're going to be okay. And so I don't try to stop it at all. I recognize that I have created a life that allows me to, be home. For example, last weekend on Saturday, I had appointments that I had to go to. So I did have to kind of quote unquote power through. But then the first moment that I could get back home and just chill, I did it. And it was worth the sacrifice of not doing, we were going to go out, and we were both of us said, you know what, we're going to stay home. Mm-hmm. So we gave up an event that we wanted to go to, but it was a small sacrifice to play to the idea that we're sitting here now and we feel good. Mm-hmm. And my mentality psychologically is exactly the same thing. I don't have any problem when I want to break down and cry. I don't have a problem when I want to just go into my bed and go to sleep. I sleep a lot during the day. I take naps. And I don't have a problem with looking at my work and shutting it down and saying, I know that when I get inspired, I'm going to crank out such great work. And I used to do this even when I worked at Microsoft. I had a blanket and a pillow in my office, and I would close the door and just fall asleep.
But you went through a period where it was hard for you
of course
not
it was.
To produce.
And that's my point. I work on the belief of inspiration, and I do have moments. We've all had moments where you're like, oh, I'm supposed to, right? We go through it. But to me, those are the things to work through. Those are the ones where I have to work through. Instead, I believe a lot on inspiration. I have realized people say to me, I consider myself a lazy-ish person. I feel like I sit and, I have a lot of downtime in my mind. But people say to me, oh, how do you produce so much? And I'm like, because I only produce when I'm inspired. Like, I don't sit there and be like, I'm going to work through it. I do have a few little tricks like, oh, I'm not going to get up and go to the bathroom until I finish this email. Damn it. But it's because I don't want to postpone it necessarily. But I swap through things like 7 or 8 times in a course of an hour. I'll do like 7 or 8 things in pieces, but I fundamentally believe that each one of those is going to get done. I don't do it because I'm distracted. I believe that when the inspiration hits, it's going to come. So, and I also believe a lot, which kind of comes back to the astrology, but also to the natural rhythms. My body has a natural rhythm. There are moments of the day that I am more productive. For example, I hate having appointments that take me out of the house in the morning. I prefer to do those all late afternoon or mid-afternoon because my mornings is when I am most productive. So I do my exercise in the morning. I do my language skills. I study for things, and then I get like the beginning of my work done. But if I think I'm going to work in like the early evening, no way, man. My body just doesn't work that way. So when I finish on my calls, I sometimes think to myself, oh, I have things I need to do, like, I don't know, some emails to write or, something like that I need to do. And I always shut my computer down. If it's like 7:00, I shut it down because I am not productive in the afternoon in that way. I'm relational in the afternoon. Excellent for meetings, conference calls, clients, coaching. Like, that's the kind of stuff I can do in the afternoon and in the early evening. Super creative in the middle of the night and really productive in the morning. But by lunchtime, right after lunch, I'm a nap girl. I am not useful. So I had to study myself for a long time to get to know my schedule. But once I know my schedule, then I'm like, last night I had these 3 or 4 things that I really wanted to get done. I was just like, nope, shut computer down. Let's go.
You're very self-aware. Most of us are not.
But I studied myself. I literally studied myself and I didn't judge it, which was something that the plants taught me. And I mean, I have tons of information where I talk about that because it was when I started to work with plants that really got me to understand that I didn't have to judge myself because we all have our natural rhythms and our natural ways, that I started to study them and literally writing them down, type of studying them to get to know what are my cycles, what are my natural ways of doing things. Because if not, we're pushing ourselves to try to be productive in moments that we're not. And that's the reason why things like the astrology that we started off with for me are so interesting, because I feel like they're buckets of energy that I don't have to judge as good or bad. Like, I don't look at Mercury, when it's in retrograde. Sure, I mean, I make the jokes all the time because my electronics go haywire. But it's not that I necessarily think that that's always bad. Sometimes the electronics going haywire is an opportunity for me to go out with a friend and do something.
Well, it's very interesting the way that we see Mercury. Yes, it rules conversations, the way you see things, the way you hear things, the way you deliver information yourself. Obviously, the electronics, the phone, even the cars, tech, when you communicate like online. Right. But in reality, when Mercury goes retrograde, this is something that I uncovered myself as well, that I read this concept years ago, and I thought, that's really interesting. When Mercury goes retrograde, it is as if, because it appears as if it was moving backwards, it kind of opens a space for you to see things and understand things in a different way. And here's the other thing. It uncovers things you wouldn't see,
right? Because
the veil opens. I had an interesting experience because Mercury went retrograde in Scorpio last year, towards the end. And I thought, oh dear, what am I going to uncover? Because Scorpio is about the secrets that people keep. It's about the naughty things we don't talk about. And I did uncover something. Somebody told me something about someone else that I had no idea. And it was like, holy, and it changed the way I looked at that person. And I thought, that's interesting that it happened during Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. So it brings you messages. It's not just about, Obviously, I have this thing that I don't like to travel during Mercury retrograde. Also because I have Uranus, Pluto, and my moon in the ninth house. And technically, you shouldn't travel to places where there's war, for me. And because it's ruled by Virgo, it's a Mercury thing. So when Mercury is retrograde, I try not to travel, because I don't know if people that are not supposed to see me will see me, and I might be in trouble. But I don't really think about, oh, my car broke down or my phone isn't working because Mercury's retrograde. It doesn't even enter my mind.
And that's good. I mean, those are the things that, again, it's about personalizing and understanding how these buckets of energy affect us. And I think that that's really the core of all of this that we're talking about is, the old adage and the very important secret, motto, not so secret motto of all secret societies, right? Of all initiated paths, know thyself. Right? The more you know yourself, and this is what I love about the work that I do too, is the more you know yourself. And that means looking at yourself at 360 degrees and stop trying to say this is good or this is bad, but more like this is useful here and this is useful there. The easier it is for you to navigate through life. The easier it is for you to take what's happening in all these, whether we're talking about the fire horse, whether we're talking about how Uranus is operating right now, or how Neptune is, and where are the conjuncts and what's going on. And you look at all this and you're like, wow, these are all opportunities to either build something or destroy something. And both of those are good. Both of those can be really good. But if you don't know yourself, if you don't take the time to really see every part of you, physical, non-physical, whether we're talking about subtle parts, whether we're talking about traumas, past lives, situations, it doesn't really matter what it is. The more you uncover about yourself, then the easier it is for you to, take this. I always laugh because my mother tends to be one of those people that has, like, anytime you say, oh, I need such and such, my mom's like, oh, I have that. And somewhere in a house that does not even look cluttered, there is that. And I feel like in some ways that's the whole know thyself, right?
Is it in the tin?
Yeah.
The cookie tin?
Of course, the Danish cookie tins. The Danish cookie tin. You have to understand, we are, from cultures that use the Danish cookie tins. Yeah. Danish cookie tins.
You're like, oh, cookies, you open it and there's like sewing kits in there. Or there's
nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
Yes, there are. And exactly. And so that whole know thyself is what brings peace. Peace comes not from being able to say everything is going to be great. Peace comes from knowing you can weather storms because you know what tools you have aboard, and therefore you can deal with whatever storm comes in. And that's really, I think, the heart of all of this.
I agree. And we didn't even touch Uranus.
All right, we're going to get to Uranus in another moment because that's going to take us in a whole other direction and stuff. All right, last words of wisdom about Neptune, because I think it's where Neptune, where were we? Neptune, Aries.
And Neptune and
Jupiter.
No.
Oh.
Saturn.
Saturn. Right. Neptune and Saturn. That's who we were talking about. Neptune and Saturn. So I already got all confused.
Words of wisdom. I think the most important thing is this is something that I wanted to talk to you about that we didn't get to. We have this blind idea. Not everybody, obviously, because some people have done a lot of work on themselves. I don't want to generalize, but this blind idea about the universe. When I say the universe, I'm talking about higher consciousness and all that is guiding us, and we have faith in it. We believe in it. That everything happens for a reason, and I am a big believer to a certain extent that it's like that. But we have control also. We have the free will that we have is the free will of how we take things as they show up. We can have either a really bad day because it rained, or it could be a beautiful day because it rained. So I think that one of the biggest things I could say, and I say this to myself as well, we have to be active participants in our lives. Yes, the universe, and if we aligned and we do the work and we pay attention to the synchronicities, and yes, this is all true, but we have to be active participants. We can no longer do the spiritual bypass and the I'm just going to burn the incense and the Palo Santo and nothing bad is going to happen.
Purify, 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 purify.
Cancel, 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 cancel.
Exactly.
It doesn't, you have to be a co-creator. And that's I have to say that to myself as well, because I consider myself very lucky that I do feel that no matter what happens, someone's always out looking out for me. And that's beautiful, because I think the more I believe that, the more it happens, because you feed that, like curating your algorithm. Mm-hmm. So curate your algorithm wisely, but also be a participant of, if we're going to talk about, we're going to use that example, commingle with it. If you're on social media and you find something that's interesting to you, make a comment, be involved, get involved in your own life, because the days of like, oh, it's all going to happen and it's all good because I'm going to put out to the universe and
everything happens for a reason.
I'm going to manifest $1 gazillion and they're just going to fall from the sky. Or you get clients that ask me all the time, am I going to be rich? Well, what does that mean? Are you seeking, are you expecting money? Is there like a flow?
Or what's your definition of rich?
No, money. I want to know if I'm gonna get $1 million. Well, are you expecting it? Do you have a lawsuit? No, I just want to know if I'm gonna get it. As in, like, it's just gonna show up? Yeah. I don't know what to answer to that. And I'll leave it like that.